my conversations. I was thinking on the topic I was given. And the whole day, yesterday, I was going across the thoughts of how I should present, keeping in mind it's a data, AI, ML kind of a environment at this point of time. I just thought maybe I'll take it slightly away from the technicalities of chatbots and also from defining the usage of Excel sheets and so on and so forth. Today, the topic that was given to me was resistance and how can key metrics be defined for the availability of how we can make a deeper impact on people's life that we touch. Let me introduce myself. My name is Pranav Jyoti. I lead people operations for a large services firm called VLCC. How many of you have heard about VLCC? Raise your hands. Okay. Have any of you used VLCC products? Yes? Okay, great. So I'm going to break my conversation into two halves. I thought I'll not make it academic. I searched a lot about what resistance is while going back to academics. An organization behavior student myself have great chapters of what resistance can look like. Is the presentation on? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So there were large discussions about what resistance is and how to keep key performances. And obviously we've been overeducated on technology, AI, ML, and how we can bring in the entire data flows to make decisions. I thought I'll break the monotony in starting talking about that after we see a short video. We will break it into defining what resistance is and how I see resistance. So please blame me if you don't agree with it. After that, we will try to align it to some stuff that I am doing within the organization.
Greetings,
My background is building businesses.
A new phase.
Can you put it on?
This is a great opportunity.
Abbas, can you put that on hold for a minute? Thank you. Right after that, we will move into what I go through as a business transformational leader. I also lead head of operations for the international business, and resistance is a key part of my portfolio, and HR is another hat that I take care of. So within my three areas of experience and expertise between data, analytics, human resource, and business transformation, I'll try to weave in what I think about resistance and how I go through a daily aspect of dealing with resistance between building organizations. So we're going to break it like that. So I have a short video, and maybe you know some of these pieces. So I kind of weaved it together. Abbas?
Greetings, new all. I'm here to usher in a new phase. This is a great opportunity. I'm here to reconfigure for the initialization of rocket bars. This will be an exciting utilization of new branding for capitalizing on a highly profitable demographic.
Why don't you cut to the chase? We don't give a good goose fart on a muggy day what you're making us make. Just tell us how many you're planning on laying off.
Management at Monk Foods in Miami has sent me here to conduct mechanization and modernization procedures.
Yeah, you monkeys all say that crap. But every time one of you comes, we end up losing jobs.
Well, I'm more interested in the jobs we'll create. If you're not, that's fine. But still, I'll expect you to implement the production changes in a timely manner. Okay? All I'm asking is that we move these machines to make room for the new production equipment.
Yeah, no. That's not the way we do things.
Nope, not the way we do things.
Not the way at all.
You expect me to believe machine and the line just broke down at the same time?
So how many of you have gone through these three situations within the organizations that you guys work for? Starting with the fact that some third party comes and gives you gyan and says that, you know, I think I know your job better than you do, and you've been doing that for the last 25 years, and now I will tell you how you can do better. Resistance, right? I think the second phase was even more exciting, where he said, hey, you know what, your background has nothing to do with production engineering, but I will tell you how to produce better. And he says, okay, nothing is happening still, resistance. And the third one was best, right? And he says, everybody's now started to revolt and not do anything about it. He says, if you want to do anything, do it, and I will make sure that you fail. So that's a part of transition again. So I think that's a key area of defining what resistance is, and I thought this video kind of brought in a lot of aspects of defining what resistance really means to all of us in some forms or the other. So the build story of resistance continues to build through areas, and I'm pretty sure all of you have constantly felt that you are wanting to help people, but it constantly feels that you are getting people out of the mud and trying to help them to become cleaner. You're trying to help constantly to build areas of things which will help them better. And even worse, you build cohorts, you build teams, and we define a better process together from them, build cohesiveness, and then they try to do it for a week, and then it doesn't happen. The worst is when someone from the field recommends you a better efficiency process, and we agree to do it after making sure leadership has got a buy-in, then we give it back to them to do, and then they don't do it. Right? And the worst is when someone says that I will make sure the commitment comes, and then you buy an external software because that software is defining an objective that it's going to improve efficiency, and you cut corners, you make sure that you want to help that employee or that business team or that country to become better, and then they use it for a week, but then they go back to doing their Excel sheets, right? Right? So it just constant action of feeling that you are going again and again on pushing a wall. You're banging across the wall and nothing is happening. So the key question over here is that why aren't people doing it? Why are they so resistant? So I was thinking of the experience, and I was talking to the gentleman who was building the entire cohort, and I obviously went through my set of emotions of trying to define why resistance happens. So I didn't want to define it academically between 1, 2, 3, 4, so I kind of put it all across. And I think some of these aspects come very clearly that we can address resistance based on inclusive approach, or help people to avoid fear of failure, or fear of becoming uncertain, or give them a bigger picture, or try to make sure that they don't feel that the objectives are lost. But end of the day, this is communication. This is all about building ideas together. So if you tell me today that how do you define resistance, how do you build teams, is something which is consistent to the fact of what we wanted to decide. I was still not sure how do I present this. So we are still in the entire ecosystem trying to define what it is. We know what it is. So I actually went back to academics and science. So one of the key professors that was hugely influential to me was a gentleman called Eugene Farmer. Professor is also a Nobel laureate who taught me. But one of the key objectives between two key professors who taught me, Eugene as well as Richard Thaler, both economists, but both came from very two different objectives of life. One came from prima facie scientific approach of economics. Other came from the human behavior side of economics, both in the same university, and both came from absolutely two different sides of a discussion. So if you get them together in one room, you can be sure that the room's going to get on fire. Both Nobel laureates as well, right? So I went back. So while we defined the softer side, Richard's side of organization, thoughts of what I just put across about communication, faith, people, which is behavioral, I said I need to also go back and look at how Eugene would look at. So I went back on my science and I saw the Ohm's equations. How many of you guys are engineers here? So you know what the Ohm's equation is? Ohm's law is? So Ohm's law defines a resistance construct. So for people who aren't engineers, there are three objectivities that revolve around resistance in science and which has based on a metal transfer of technology, can be looked at communication as well. So three important aspects have to be looked at. One is resistance, other is resistor, and third is resistivity, right? These are key aspects. What Ohm's law says is that resistance is directly proportional to the delta of volt and energy. The premise of this went a bit ahead, and that's what this equation was. This equation actually spoke a lot about resistance, and if you look at length of the wire, and I'm going to change this wire and put your mind to say, think wire is tenure. So length of tenure of an individual within the organization, and the area which is the construct of multiple aspects of knowledge that individual has. So one is functional, but that person has been in an organization for a very long time and has done multiple things, which means that he has very strong views about the fact that how an organization should be run. He's still responsible for his one small function, but he also has very strong views, and because he's been there for a long period of time, he's also valued to do that as well. So where does resistance come here? This is exactly how we find on a daily basis organization challenges. Your classical CIO is more concerned about the RAM of your computer, right? Your classical CFO really is highly concerned about the bottom line. The classical CTO is wanting to always put another Wi-Fi in the office. Do we know such people? We know such people, right? But the construct moves away from the fact of decision, because as soon as you want to make changes, you want to be very clear on the fact that your delta is defined by these three actions. So you do not want your leadership or people around you or people who are your teams to be the resistor. In fact, they have to be the people who are generating the entire energy to define objectivity. So resistance and build that entire ecosystem to drive the least resistivity to make sure that the objectives get amalgamated to the focus area that you want to make a change. So are we kind of clear on what I want to talk about between resistance and resistivity? While I define the entire culture of how we define today, I wanted to go a step ahead to talk about how we deal with resistivity, deal with resistance, and what are the key areas that how we feel defined. I'll take a minute to explain you the expanse of the opportunity at VLCC that we run on. VLCC classically is a services business, which is the salon business. We are about 1,500 crores in that, highly profitable. We have moved additionally to the products business, which is a classical FMCG business, which has a large construct of sales and distribution as energy. We have a skills business, which is the education business, which is another 500 crores, with over 90 centers, with over 11,000 students graduating every year. So we may be the only skilling company, retail, paid for, non-government, where students are being educated for creating an industry in totality. The uniqueness of the beauty wellness market is also that the market is relatively new. So resistance and receptivity of people who know it, who understand it, is also limited. But the market today grows significantly. I mean, to give you a perspective, Jeff Bezos wants to get into the beauty wellness market. So if he wants to get into the beauty wellness market, there's some area of domination that he's looking at. The premise revolves around the fact that we have our service business, which is a classical retail play. We have the FMCG business, which is a sales and distribution play. We have the education business, which is a skilling play. One role that I do within the organization is acquisitions and M&A for the group, both for India and overseas. We acquired 2 Indian companies which we plugged in. One was a technology company, and that's why I wanted to highlight you. It's a beauty at home business which is called Vanity Cube. Vanity Cube, larger premise is Uber for beauty, right? We service over 89 districts in the country today, which have our centers and which do not have our centers. Another acquisition that we did was a company called WellScience. It's a direct selling model, very similar to what an Oriflame or an Amway does, and we plugged it into the operations of our products business. Internationally, we acquired 2 large entities, one in Singapore, one in Malaysia, in the Southeast Asia market, one from a service line standpoint as well as from a product standpoint. We've done 2 large acquisitions in the product service space in Africa and in Switzerland to make sure that our product service vintage brings in together. Resistance comes from the fact that our oldest business is the services business. My services business is a classical partnership model where there have been a set of people who have been with us for the past 28 years. My service offering leadership has a key contention average age of key leadership easily over 18 years plus. For that matter, the premise of defining their clarity of their thought and their resistance and resistivity, specifically for an individual who's new in the business, but who understands that from a detailer perspective, comes from a fact that says, Pranav, I know it. You may be the head of HR for this company, the board may like you, but the fact of the matter is that I run the company. So don't tell me that this data flow or this dashboard is a critical dashboard for a deployment perspective. So the idea of sharing the encompassing activity for a 11,000 employee company in India and another 5,000 overseas, with entities which cut across technology, services, products, education, and international cultures, with over 32 different ethnic cultures working for us. The definition of resistance, the definitions of go-to-market are available and varied across the board. So what have we done to deal with a scenario where we can bring in, and that's where I'll come back to our, this doesn't work, that's fine. Come back to our thought of how we deal with scenarios. So we have dealt with scenarios on 3 aspects, and I will touch across on those. One is blockchain. We have defined the entire process of decision making not from becoming a conduit of communication, but a conduit of partnership. We've defined successful areas of partnership and go-to market based on blockchain technology. So blockchain is not, how many of you have heard of blockchain? You know what blockchain is, so good. So it's not cryptocurrency, I'm not selling currency there. But the premise is maybe, but not any time in the future. But the premise revolves around the fact that what we have done is that we have identified 5 areas between people transitions, between a basic fundamental of theories of blockchain to define access portions. Those 5 areas define on 3 aspects. 1, marketing need. 2nd, people need, and I'll break it into further thoughts below it. Marketing need, people need, training need, and compliance need. Like Kapil was speaking specifically about the fact that every state has its different issues about how compliance are looked at, including as simple thing as payroll. It looks simple, but it gets complicated because it's broken into subdivisions across the market. The premise revolves around the fact that there has to be a broken clarity of creating a focused success point of defining what decision the local leader has to make. As soon as you define policy, policy gets a huge thrash on being broken. That builds resistance. That builds the entire ecosystem of the transaction not going well. So the blockchain process has given us huge strengths of getting everybody together, partnering with it, letting that individual change as much change that individual wants to recommend, and become a everyday decision-making process on building an equity. So we do a weekly review on the templates that are being defined on what the individual looking at. We have moved ahead into keeping in mind recruiting was a large problem for us. We have about 60% attrition, which is not very unusual for low tier retail chains. So when we have 60% attrition, but you'll be surprised that every quarter there's enough set of people who have quit us join us back again, because the market is very limited. And I think that kind of gives us the attribute of efficiency, and being the largest player in the market also becomes a big challenge for us to consider what change should look like. So recruiting has become another key aspect of how we have dealt blockchain with. Training, defining local training, what needs to be done from a consistent, what training you need in Chennai is very different that you need in Calcutta. That's again very different that in UP is very different that what you need in NCR. And I think some of those aspects become very critical when decisions become cohesive. And once you are in a process of defining TNA, recruiting, compliance through this piece, we have been able to align a lot of aspects. Again, the undercurrent of this is coexistence. The undercurrent of this is communication. So you build it all together, we build a structure, and we brought it in place. So we've used blockchain for one aspect. Second, we have used a very similar tool like Smera, which is internally being created with a set of children from IIT, where we have built 6 different characters who have identified reasons of pain, which means that if there is an individual who wants finance questions, there's a finance uncle. So we call them, uncle is an acronym. We have an HR auntie. We have, and we have leadership guidance. We have growth market. So these are chatbots which work internally. In fact, we've gone a step ahead. We have put that across. I've already got a look. So do I have a minute? So we have kind of built that together out of their mobile setups. In fact, we've gone a step ahead, and some of them work on 2G setup where people are in network issues where they cannot connect. So it can be a text to a conversation that happens. So we have used technology to define the problem. We have used technology to address the problem. And today we are in a scenario where we are kind of bringing it all together to define success, to build it, to make sure that our areas are in place. So yeah, so these are some areas of how we have dealt with resistance, and we have dealt with dealing with issues. We still aren't the perfect company yet, but we strive to be the pioneers and do a lot of change. And our aim is to become a $1 billion enterprise end of 2020, and we should be in over 21 countries, and hopefully should have an IPO end of the year, which we are looking at a $5 billion IPO. So hopefully the area is to define success in the beauty wellness market and define, get more resistance so that we can come up with more answers, and that's where we are. So I have one last thing that I always say which is a gentleman called Jason Wu, and I love this statement, that everything I learned about something was right after I thought I'd learned everything. Right? So that's where I thought I'll end my talk, and I said, every day is a constant thought. The more you resist, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you achieve. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to India's first corporate news channel. We invite interviews, articles, press releases from your organization. Visit our portal www.indianconventions.com. Thank you.